Hello everyone, welcome to Liverpool News. I'm Chris Pajak and we've got loads of stories for you today. It's been reported elsewhere by El Nacional that Liverpool are interested in Federico Chiesa. We'll be talking about that. Konate's spoken out about Kelleher, Thuram. Somebody else, a couple of teams in fact, have joined the race for Manu Kone. James Pearce wrote an incredible article on The Athletic about Liverpool's next transfer priorities. Tyler Adams is probably wanting out of Leeds. Mason Mount update. Even Kelleher update, a little something on our under-21s who are going out to Euro 21, and a plan on the spending cap for Premier League sides. So thank you very much for joining me. Of course, you can get your comments coming in, and I will read those out as well. Where is Thuram? Just like this from Tom Kennan. I've got no idea where Thuram is right now, but I believe that his agent took a photo of Nice's ground or something. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that one, to be honest with you. I'm going to start with something that popped up in the last sort of few minutes. I was recording today's bite-size episode actually, and Gravenberch has apparently opened up on his future. So I'm with the Liverpool Echo right now, and Gravenberch opens up on future as the headline. Bayern Munich midfielder Gravenberch is yet to hold talks with Thomas Tuchel over his future at the club. Discussing his lack of chances under previous boss Nagelsmann, he told The Telegraph, "I thought, seriously, what is this? I had expected that I would get more chances and minutes than I eventually got. I had done a very good preparation, thought I deserved it." On what he expects to happen this summer, Gravenberch said, "There may be plans with me. I haven't spoken to the trainer about that yet. That will come after the European Championship when I'm back from Georgia and Romania. Then we'll see how things are." So I suppose the big takeaway from just that is that Gravenberch has essentially said, I want to speak to the manager. I want to find out whether I'm going to get game time. I've made the move essentially a year ago. I don't think I was given a fair rub of the green, and I want to know whether I'm in Tuchel's plans. So if anything is going to happen with Gravenberch, it does very much sound like it is going to happen after the European under-21s, the European Championships. So don't expect any movement on the Gravenberch stuff. In fact, I probably expect that to completely go quiet while that tournament in place if Liverpool don't do something mad beforehand. But it does sound from those comments, doesn't it, and quotes, that Gravenberch wants to see what the lay of the land is. Gravenberch wants to find out whether he can get game time at Bayern Munich, because obviously he chose that club for a reason, and it does sound like he doesn't want to back out of that just yet. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I suppose I do have to just briefly talk about Jude Bellingham. That move has now been confirmed to Real Madrid. There you go, that has been brief. I'm not going to talk about Jude Bellingham anymore. Maybe forever, unless we play them at any point in the next 6 years, because that's how long his contract is. We've had a new first team member as well. Sean, thank you so much for joining as a first teamer. That's absolutely brilliant of you. You get some content, you get emojis and stuff like that for being a first teamer. So thank you very much for joining us on that one. So let's get into the stories that I'd actually sort of planned for the day. I am going to lead, I think, with the Federico Chiesa news first and foremost. So this is from the Liverpool Echo originally in their live news blog. Apparently we're keen on Juventus winger Federico Chiesa. Premier League is believed to be an interesting destination for the Italian star. Liverpool are hopeful of convincing Chiesa to make the move to Anfield. That's according to El Nacional, who had Jurgen Klopp has asked the Reds board to pay €60 million, that's £51 million, in order to strike a deal. So I think the interesting thing in this one is I've been over to El Nacional. First of all, there is a mad way that they've described an ACL injury, which I think everybody just needs to start using from now on. It's obviously a translated website. The cross-breeding ties of the knee were broken, causing him to be down for virtually a year. The cross-breeding ties of the knee, otherwise known as an ACL injury. Thought that was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, he played 33 times last season in all. He didn't hit the levels that he did during, was it Euro 2020, I think it was, where he absolutely lit up the place. He's absolutely brilliant. So he plays he plays a majority on that left-hand side, can play on that right-hand side. He's a right-footed player, likes to cut inside, very dribbly, likes to go past players, really sort of good player if he can get back to his best. Do I think Liverpool are interested in him? I do think there's probably a hint of an interest there, because I think a couple of years ago, Liverpool did want Federico Chiesa, so it wouldn't surprise me if they still harboured an interest. Does that interest mean that they're going to sign him? Well, I don't see that there's a position there on the left-hand side, certainly, that he would slot into, but because he can play that right-hand side, maybe there's some sort of future-proofing here for Mo Salah a couple of years down the line, etc., etc. I imagine if Liverpool were going to go for somebody like a Chiesa, they'd want to see him get back to his best first. I mean, signing another injury, another fella who's come back from a big injury off Juventus, probably not a good move for us right now. And taking a risk on him when he didn't hit top form last season seems... When you've got a budget to work within and, you've got so much rebuilding to do around the rest of your squad, the midfielders certainly still needs a lot of work, although we've obviously signed Alexis McAllister. The defenders, I think, still need backup as well. Chiesa couldn't possibly be a priority for me. It just couldn't be. LFC Marlu says, a good backup for Salah. But have in mind that we shouldn't be spending our money on forwards this summer. If it's in addition to 2 more centre-mids and a centre-back, then cool, why not? That is exactly where I'm at as well, to be honest with you, because we've just so much work to do. It just seems like a luxury, and a luxury that's a risk as well, which I think Liverpool need to be a little bit risk-averse this summer. I think we've had too many... transfers over the last 12 months that haven't really worked out. You just have to look at last summer's window to really get onto that. I mean, Carvalho's not really in the manager's plans. Calvin Ramsey's going out on loan to Preston North End. Darwin Núñez, still question marks over how good he can be in Liverpool. At Liverpool, sorry. So yeah, I can't imagine that Chiesa is going to be a serious sort of link for Liverpool. But it is reported in the news by Nacional, so we are talking about it as we always do. Some people will say it's clickbait. Other people will say they just like to talk about all of the news stories and what's wrong with that. Dylan Fitzgerald. Oh, I've missed that message. There we go. Dylan Fitzgerald, sorry. We already have 6 proper attackers. We don't need more. Right now, we don't need more. You're probably right. The Game says, why is no one putting fingers at FSG for not being able to support Klopp? Why should a club of the size of Liverpool accept mediocrity? The only 2 established world-class players were Alisson and Verge. That's interesting, actually. I mean, I don't think Liverpool are accepting mediocrity, personally. I think the FSG need to put more money into the football club. We need bigger budgets to be able to compete with the likes of Manchester City and Newcastle and Manchester United and Chelsea and everybody else. But I also believe that Liverpool are the second best squad in the country. I think the form at the back end of the last season has proved that we're able to hit those highs again that we did the previous year. We all know about the reasons for the form last season. There were missteps made, of course, in the transfer market last summer. I think that's clear to see with 2020 hindsight and all that type of stuff. But they've backed Jurgen, not as much as some people want, not as much as I want, but they have backed him. I think it's massively blown out of proportion, all this chat. And, if Jurgen was unhappy, Jurgen wouldn't be here. So he's clearly not unhappy. He clearly backs himself under the regime that he's under. So yeah, it's an interesting one as well. Konate is the next news story then. And he's speaking about Thuram. Now this is an interesting one for me. I'm just going to get my notes up rather than go to a website on this one. So it's quoted by RMC Sport. The defender who arrived from Leipzig 2 summers ago said, I would be very happy for Thuram to come to Liverpool and I would take him under my wing. I would do everything for him to progress and become the player he wants to become. That's great, isn't it? Now, there was a separate quotes come out of this RMC Sport interview as well, which I couldn't find, to be fair, that said, I think the coach and those in charge of recruitment know that we need new players. Are we understaffed and lacking in quality? We cannot play with young people at this level. They're quite incendiary sort of quotes, aren't they? But let's tackle them one at a time, I suppose. Thuram first and foremost. The fact that Agent Konate is on the go, is trying to get him there, telling how to take him under the wing and all that type of stuff. In fact, interestingly, Mark Goldbridge, on an aside, tweeted something before saying, look, he believes that Liverpool are close to signing another player. And that player he thinks could be Thuram. Now, I know Mark, we've done content with him over the years, of course, so I just sent him a little text. Said, what's this about, mate? Hey, what's this about, eh? What are we talking about here? And he said to me that he knows somebody that's very, very well respected within the industry, has a lot of good contacts, and their sources saying that Liverpool are close to signing a player. Now, independent of those sources, which he wouldn't reveal, he's also said that he believes it's Thuram. So it's just an opinion from Mark that it could be Thuram. Now, I don't know why I'm talking about Mark Goldbridge on a Liverpool news show, but fair play. I think Liverpool are probably close to signing Thuram. I think of Manu Kone, which I can see loads of people talking about in the comments now as well, along with Thuram. I always thought from the beginning it was one or the other with those two players. And I think it was Thuram top priority of the two, Kone second priority essentially. I just feel like he's a much better fit for the formation that Liverpool used at the end of the season, whereas I felt Kone sort of sits somewhere in the middle where you might want him for a 4-2-3-1. Now, that's not to say that he can't play six on his own. It's just to say that we've not seen it, and we know that Liverpool do like to sign players and occasionally train them up into positions. So that could be something that Liverpool were eyeing, but it always felt to me like it was one or the other. Obviously, nothing concrete on the Thuram stuff at the moment. We've not heard anything else over the last 24 hours, really. But yeah, I really hope that he is. And Andy Byrne is in exactly the same boat as me. Thuram is hopefully coming. And Ola Gunley just says, no to Chiesa, horrendous ACL injury and hasn't produced a good since. And I think I agree with you there. I think it's a mad one. I think if he can get back to it and prove that that injury's behind him and all that type of stuff, yeah, absolutely. Proper talent. But right now it's a big risk when you've got a small budget, unfortunately, and you've got a lot to do with that budget. Chiesa seems one too many, really, doesn't it? In a position where we are kind of already stocked anyway. The game just asks, if Gravenberch is available, isn't available, who should we go for? If Gravenberch is available, who should we go for, Kone or Gravenberch? Now, that's an interesting question because obviously Gravenberch hasn't played anywhere near enough football over the last year, but prior to that, Ajax, wasn't it? He was, top talent. Kone, Gravenberch. For me, when you're considering two young players like that, who's got the highest ceiling? I think it would be Gravenberch. I think Gravenberch would fit better into the formation as well, which I sort of said I've got question marks personally over Kone in that anyway. Easy Ollie just says, yeah, Gravenberch without question. Ashley Frith says, after the transfer insight with Dan, I think Kone sounds better than I thought. Still more impressed with Thuram. Yeah, no, I agree with that, Ashley. Absolutely spot on. Mr. Jade Mango says, concerned that senior players are starting to get frustrated by Liverpool's inaction in the transfer market. If this continues, they see no further development. Some might look elsewhere. See, that's interesting. I'm assuming, Mr. Mango, that you are referring to Konate's stuff. And if that's the case, I read that slightly differently, to be honest. I think he was just asked a question and he said, look, it's clearly obvious that the people in charge know that we need players. We're being linked to players every single day. We've brought one player in already. There's a belief inside the Liverpool fan base, inside the football club, I'm sure, that Liverpool need 2 or 3 midfielders. I think he's just telling the truth. I don't see it as a frustration. I think if it was a frustration, he wouldn't be saying, look, I come into the football club, I'll take you under my arm, we'll make sure you achieve what you want to achieve and all that type of stuff. So yeah, that's just the way that I read it, slightly differently to you, if that is indeed what you're reacting to. Let's have a look. Andy Byrne says Gravenberch is definitely the man in. Mike has said, if he comes in, I see Salah going, unfortunately. Now, this is obviously in relation to the Chiesa stuff. I don't think Salah's going anywhere. Yeah, there you go. LFC Aaron just says Konate just wants his mate to sign. Indeed. Don't we all? Don't we all? Isn't that exactly what we want to do as well? I'll move on to the next story then. This is one from the Daily Mail, or the Mail Online, I should say. Aston Villa and Wolves have joined the race for Borussia Mönchengladbach's 35 million rated Manu Kone, with Liverpool also keeping tabs on the midfielder. Before I get into this, we'll just go from the headline on this. We don't want to get involved in the story or anything like that. What I will say straight off the bat is, this isn't going to drive clicks, and that's what websites are obviously here to do. They drive clicks, they drive advertising revenues, and that's what they want. Liverpool is in this headline for one reason and one reason only, and that is for more clicks. And that's what I feel with this one, because Aston Villa and Wolves joining the race for somebody ain't going to get the views that you want it to get. So throw Liverpool in there, keeping tabs, yada, yada, yada. Now, my big concern over this is that if Manu Kone is of the quality of player that we hope that he is, why are teams ahead of Aston Villa and Wolves not looking at him. Why aren't Manchester United? Why aren't you Chelsea's? Why aren't you Tottenham's? Why aren't you Manchester City's? Why aren't your Arsenal's being linked with Manu Kone? And that, reading between the lines and obviously taking a big hop, skip and a jump somewhere, says to me that he's maybe not a target for those players, maybe not on their radar, and maybe not good enough to play for them as well. Now, this could be just me sort of putting my feelings on Kone. I haven't done a lot of research into him in there, and maybe that's a little bit unfair on a young player who can still improve and stuff. But yeah, I can't imagine now. I'm feeling like the Kone stuff's done for Liverpool. It's just a feeling. It's not something that I've been told or anything like that. It is just a feeling, but I really don't feel like Manu Kone is going to be a Liverpool player this summer. I really don't. And I hope that Liverpool prove me wrong because we need players. But I think there are better options out there, if I'm being perfectly frank with everybody. Go on, yeah. Somebody disagrees with me. Arsenal City were ever not linked to any of the players we're going for that silly argument. Okay, fair enough. Hope you have a better day than you've had. Is it true that Jude went to Real Madrid? It is indeed true. They have confirmed the signing. LFC Malu says, to be fair, Villa were looking at Agati before he went to PSG. Yeah, shoot your shot, like. Don't get me wrong. Shoot your shot if you're Aston Villa. Fair play. And, you know, could be a good force to be reckoned with next season, to be fair. Okay, let's have a little look at this one. We would sign Rice, Caicedo and Mount to be on unlimited funds like other clubs, but we can't/won't. That's interesting because the Rice one hurts me. I'd love to have Declan Rice at Liverpool. And not only is he the type of person that I'd want to have involved in the club, but he's a fucking amazing player as well. Caicedo, yeah, he's all right. I quite like Caicedo. I'm not like as high on Caicedo as everybody else is. Mount I'm really high on, probably higher on him than most players. I can see Caicedo absolutely fitting in, by the way. I can see Mount absolutely fitting in, and Rice is better than both of them. So yeah, interesting stuff. Thuram and Vega would be sound. Yeah, I mean, there's a player that I want Liverpool to sign, Gabri Vega. I mean, we all know he scored 11 goals and yada yada yada. If you've watched him play, he's boss. Like he's got a really, really ridiculously high ceiling. Thuram, Vega, McAllister. I think that's a pretty exceptional midfield three to be bringing in one window. The questions that come from if we were to take this flight of fancy wigs around Thuram and Vega with McAllister is, have you just signed 3 players for 2 positions? How are we working this into the side? And what does that mean for the likes of Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones and stuff like that? Because I think at different stages of the season, last season, they both proved that they're top draw players and can have a real massive impact on this first team and squad. But I suppose the big sort of flip side to all of this is Vega's ceiling higher than both of them? And do we just at some point have to go, you know what, you're not as good as them and we're not going to keep you around? Who knows? Them's is the questions that the big fellas at Liverpool will have to decide the answers on over the next few weeks. So, James Pearce was the next story. And he's talking about Liverpool's transfer priorities. Now, what I find really interesting in this one is this sort of paragraph here to start with. Over the past week, Schmacker, Head of Recruitment Dave Fallows and Chief Scout Barry Hunter have been involved in discussions with club and agents across Europe. Where Liverpool turn next is currently unclear as they continue to weigh up their options. So that's an interesting line from James Pearce. So where Liverpool turn next is currently unclear as they continue to weigh up their options. So, yeah, read into that what you will. From Liverpool's perspective, there is no rush given that the transfer window only officially opens for English clubs today, and any signings from overseas won't go through until the international window opens on July the 1st. No, Aaron, thanks for that. Ideally, Klopp would like all business to be completed by July the 8th when pre-season training starts at Kirby, but there's also a realisation on his part that things might drag on. The situation is complicated by international fixtures, including the Under-21 Championship, which starts on June the 21st, so obviously next week, isn't it? So yeah, I think the big thing from sort of this one really for me is that, like, I think James is saying it might slow down a little touch here. Like maybe you might get somebody else in before the Under-21s Championship starts, but holidays are obviously thereabouts coming up, and players will be away, and then. But it is about getting players back for pre-season training. I think now It's not until the 11th that some of the internationals come back. It could be a little bit later for some of the under-21 internationals and stuff. So, yeah, interesting there. And then there was another line here which I particularly loved. The quintet mentioned above, Thuram, Kone, Vega, Gravenberch and Lavia have all come under consideration. However, that isn't a definitive shortlist. Okay, so the shortlist as it stands, not definitive, of course. Thuram, Kone, Vega, Gravenberch, Lavia. That's a good little shortlist of players to be picking from. Now, if you had to pick 2 from 3 there, I'd probably go Thuram and Vega personally. Let me know who you would go for. I'd probably go Thuram and Vega, although I'm also thinking I need probably a little bit more of a defensive player, and maybe that's me having a little bit of trust in Stefan Bajcetic coming back off his injury and stuff like that. Okay. Dr. 21 says I'd go Kone and Thuram. Vega's young and not affected by homegrown rules. Is that true? I don't know. Vega, Thuram and Timber along with McAllister. Now, there's a shout from Emily bringing the defender in Timber. That could be an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I think it was sort of last couple of days, it sort of seems to have been that Liverpool have cooled off on defenders, really. And that's a little bit surprising for me. I think it's a big hole in the squad. I think when you consider, Joe Gomez's injuries, you consider Matip, last year of his contract, and obviously the injuries that he's had, Konate's injuries over the 2 years that he's been at the football club as well. I think, relying on those 3 players to fill one position, it might be a little bit silly, to be honest with you. I think, so for me, I would absolutely hire another centre-half, and whether that be a right-sided centre-half or a left-sided centre-half, I'd personally go for maybe a left-sided centre-half, but you do probably need a right-sided centre-half as well, and interesting. Ashley Fitz says I'd go for Thuram and Gravenberch, yeah. Thuram and Lavia all day long for LFC Marlow. That's an interesting one. Most people, I think, Easy Ollie has gone Thuram and Gravenberch, as has Mr. Cop 11. So I think a lot of players would prefer Thuram and Gravenberch. Totally understand that. I'm all in on Gabby Vega. I know that, and I think that's mental, but it's fine. It's absolutely fine. I really like Eze at Palace. Oh, that one's gone. Where's that one gone? Oh, yeah, there we go. So this is Ubez. I really like Eze at Palace. Had a great return with goals and assists last season and under homegrown quota. Eze's an interesting player, isn't he? It was a QPR he played for before Palace, and he was absolutely brilliant. And I remember James Alcott, obviously if anyone knows James, we used to do Ball Street together, and he's got his own channel now. It's absolutely brilliant, by the way. You should go and check out the James Lawrence Alcott channel. He was talking about Eze at the time, and obviously because of that, you sort of learn about a player and you sort of look them out and stuff like that. So yeah, I find him a really interesting shout as well. Michael says, what I read, Chris, was that we'd look at centre-back after the midfield was sorted, dependent on funds. You'll never walk alone. Thank you very much for that, Michael. If that is the case, man, that doesn't seem the right way to go about it, does it? Because I think if you have genuine concerns over the injured players, then, sign one more midfielder and then get a defender and then get your third midfielder, maybe, is probably the way that I would play it, rather than go for 3 midfielders and then let's just buy a defender with what's left. That ends up being, we'll buy 3 midfielders and we'll get a shit defender. And I'd rather them go 2 fucking brilliant midfielders, boss defender, and then if you want a squad player, but everyone's got each their own and all that type of stuff. Tell you a player that is being linked to the move to Liverpool, only tangentially, of course, by Team Talk staff, apparently. Leeds United star Tyler Adams has told them that he wants to play in the Premier League next season. And he knows a host of clubs want to sign him. Leeds signed Adams from Leipzig last summer, viewed as potential replacement for Calvin Phillips. Adams is proven he is far too good to be playing in the Championship next season. He's now ramping up over a Premier League move. On Thursday, The Athletic revealed how Adams is on Steve Cooper's list of targets at Nottingham Forest. Despite Leeds' relegation, they'll hold out for a big fee when letting Adams go. The Athletic stated the West Yorkshire side, that's Leeds, won $40 million for the midfield enforcer, double what they originally paid for him. Interesting proposition. I don't think this is a particularly big link in terms of Liverpool, but yeah, interesting one nonetheless. There's another one here actually from the Liverpool Echo, I think. Possible hint of Aquivan Kelleher's future. Brentford's technical director Lee Dykes believe Kelleher has been in the shadows at Liverpool in recent times. some quotes down here. Kelleher is a good goalkeeper. There is no doubt in that. He's a good goalkeeper. He's not played a lot of games. Obviously, he's been in the shadows a little bit at Liverpool. Now, Thomas Frank's side, Brentford, seems to be in the market for a number one, as David Raya is on the brink of moving to Tottenham Hotspur. Could Kelleher go to Brentford? We've also heard links with Brighton and Tottenham before the Raya stuff started as well. So it'd be an interesting one. And I wouldn't want Kelleher to go by any stretch of the imagination. Some comments then on the last story. Adams is not our quality. No for me. Let's see this one. Critter. Tyler Adams would be a great, but could definitely play in the Klopp. Has a lot of stamina. Bloody hell, my talking's terrible today. Stamina. Tyler Adams isn't close to Liverpool quality, says Skits. Tyler Adams is nonsense. Agent talk. He's not good enough for Liverpool anyway. And then Sam Jones says it's a shame for Kelleher. He's got the best in the world ahead of him in the goalkeeper pecking order. And YouTube just completely agrees and says Kelleher is pants. We've all got our opinions. We've all got our souls. It's just the way that it is. You can't show this one either, actually, Aaron, because it's from the Times. But Martin Ziegler reported that the Premier League are planning a spending cap to keep the league competitive. Now, this is really interesting. It was a couple of days old now, but I don't think anybody else has really talked about it. Martin Ziegler actually did a show, an Expert Insight, with Dan earlier on today, where he expanded on this article a little bit. Now, the Premier League are in discussions, essentially, about introducing a spending cap that would link any amount the club can spend on wages to how much television money is paid to the lowest placed team. The proposal, called anchoring, would restrict the top teams to spending, for example, 4 times the amount the bottom club receive in TV money, though the exact ratio or proportion has yet to be defined. Now, what's interesting with this one is they've used figures from the 21-22 season. Now, Norwich, their wage bill is just over a scandalous, quite frankly, £100 million. Now, if, again, the ratio was mentioned, but certainly not confirmed as, the ratio was 4-1. If it was, as an example, 4-1, the highest spending side in the Premier League in 21-22 on wages was Manchester United, with a ridiculous £386 million on wages. So it actually fall inside that 4-1 ratio, if that is the ratio that they're discussing. Now, you can understand why teams like Liverpool, with their owners, Tottenham Hotspur, probably Arsenal, would be keen for something like this. Maybe a lot of the clubs towards the bottom of the table as well would be keen for something like this. Maybe the likes of, I don't know what links these sides, but Manchester City, Newcastle would be keen to avoid that. And I wonder whether this is just a, look, it's got bad, it can't get any worse type of thing, rather than we're going to fix this issue and make it fair. It always says to me, look, we kind of want, I think the Premier League do kind of want a bit of a gap. I think the football clubs at the top end certainly want a bit of a gap. You know, we've obviously heard all the rumours about the Super League and all that stuff over the last couple of years. Like, the clubs want more money and they want to be ring-fenced as top clubs forever. They don't want the opportunity to fall down and all that type of stuff. So, yeah, I think for Liverpool and for FSG, I think they want to be at the top table. They want to stay at the top table, but they don't want anyone getting further away so that the top table becomes the second table, essentially. I think that's what's in danger of happening in the Premier League. And I feel like if something like this was to go through, they're going to need 14 votes. They've been discussing it early stages, of course, yesterday and today, I believe, in Hampshire. Need 14 votes. Ziegler told us today that it's 50-50 whether they're going to get those 14 votes. I'd be surprised if they... I don't know. Would I be surprised? I think it might be not a bad move for the Premier League, to be honest. But, yeah, weird, but it's interesting that it's like linked to the television revenues. And I suppose what would happen if the arse fell out of the television revenues, and this was the case, right? Obviously, the next few years, yada, 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 you know exactly how much is coming in each and every single week, or every single month, year, whatever, through the television revenues. The arse falls out of it, and the money goes down. Does everyone just go, oh, well, we can't afford to pay our players now? Really sorry about that. Would you build it into contracts? I mean, it sounds really complicated. Now, I'm not sure the arse will fall out of the Premier League, but you never know. The arse fell out of Serie A, didn't it? So there we go. Let's have a look. Nice to see Chris here. Sick of looking in there in that state. Nice one, Paul. Oh dear. What about a spending cap on transfers that's governed in teams of a punishment if they break them? Ooh. Spending cap on transfers, teams have punishments if they break them. I think we've proved that the punishments are pretty pathetic when it comes to this type of stuff. Just ask Manchester City, literally European champions when they should have been banned from Europe that season. Oh well, what are you going to do? Igor Locatar. Any news on Vega? No news today on Gabri Vega. There was a lot of talk yesterday. Steve did a show yesterday. You can catch up with it if you just want the smaller version. We do bite size on a podcast. We do loads and loads of content on podcasts, by the way. So if you don't have time, you just want to catch up with maybe 10, 15 minutes worth of news every single day without sitting through, 40 minutes of discussion and opinions and all that type of stuff. And you just want that short form headline fix in your car, maybe on your way to work or on your way to the bus stop, school, whatever, then you're more than welcome to. Just search Redmen TV on your podcast apps. We put tons and tons of content out on there. And yeah, the bite-size show we run Monday to Friday. And that is sort of 10 minutes of just the headlines each and every day for you. It's a cracking little show. I listen to it, to be fair, on my way into work, and loved hearing Steve say redmenplus.com again after doing it on the podcast yesterday's show. Text him about it as well. Might have to buy the domain name. Anyway, that has been me. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Igor. 8 years. Wow. That was an I in Igor's names. Was it? Okay. How much can or will Liverpool spend on new players this summer? £150 million. That's what I think Liverpool are going to spend on players this summer. Thank you very much for joining me. That has been the LFC News Daily, I think, maybe. What's it called? Liverpool Transfer News Update. Thank you very much for joining me. No news on Van den Ven, Sarang, apologies. All the news at the start, you're more than welcome to go back and watch that. If you want just the headlines, as I say, go over to Redmen TV on Acast, of course. Loads of stuff upcoming on Redmen Plus, as there always is. Got a new deep dive show coming out on Saturday as well, on YouTube. And obviously, Martin Ziegler one's really, really good with Dan that was recorded this afternoon. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Like the video, please. It actually does help us. We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Our 3-part documentary series, Bobby Firmino, Best in the World, is being released this June. And if you head to redmenplus.com and sign up, you're going to get early access to episode 1, exclusive access to episodes 2 and 3, and you're also going to get the full interviews with all of the contributors, including Jordan Henderson, Adam Lallana, Ian Rush, and so many more as well. Head to redmenplus.com.